Hello, hello, everybody. How are you doing? We are going to wait just up. There's my first person. Type something on the screen so I can see who you are. I always say I'm just going to have, if I can have one person, we will definitely move forward. But I want to share the broadcast and then we'll get started. Hello, hello. As you come in, let us know where you are logging in from. Give us the area. Are you in Austin? Hello, Jimmy. How are you? Good. Good to see you. I am just taking a moment to share the broadcast and then we'll go ahead and move forward. Oh, we've got 9 people already on. Hello, hello, everybody. As you come in, would you definitely let us know where you are logging in from so we can greet you and know exactly where you are? Hello, Aaliyah. Glad to have you. Austin, Texas in the house. I miss y'all. Do y'all miss me? Jimmy, you miss me coming down there for the grief symposium. I miss it. OMG. I miss coming there. I am doing great. Hello, hello, everybody. Thank you so much for logging in. As you come in, would you do us a tremendous favor? Log in and let us know where you are logging in from. If you're in Austin, I'm going to see if we have somebody from our area up here in the DFW area. And also, if this is your first time joining us for our live series on social media, if this is your first time joining us for our monthly symposium, put a 1 on the screen. Let us know so that we can just love on you a little bit. We are so glad that you guys are on. So we're going to go ahead and move forward. We got about 14 of you guys watching. Thank you so much. For those of you who do not know who I am Dr. Tonya Cunningham. I am your grief doctor. I help grieving and hurting individuals transition from loss to life, from pain to purpose, and to recognize that there is life after loss. It's just a different life. And we are here again for our monthly grief symposium, and it is hosted by a life celebration. So for those of you who do not know, a life celebration is a funeral home in the Austin area. And the owners are Barry and Marie Franklin. So we appreciate them for providing this resource, not only to their families, but also to anyone who wants to join in. We started about 7 years ago, I believe, somewhere around there, going face to face. So once Corona decides to leave, we will be back there. We meet every 4th Sunday. Barry calls it our hour of power, where we come in, we start on time, and we leave at 4:30 as well. It's the hour of power, and we meet at the Richardson Scott Building, Precinct 1 Community Room at 4717 Heflin Lane in the Austin, Texas area. So whenever Corona decides to leave, I cannot wait to get back to Austin, Texas. Hey, hello, 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 Miss Erling. Glad that you're here. Michael, boom, look, here's my cup, my bling cup. Hi, Miss Vicky, all the way from San Antonio, Texas. We've got Faluga. When I didn't know how to pronounce that, I said Paloojaville. That's just Texas. Texas, don't know any better. Falugaville, Patricia, welcome. Hey, Miss Darylyn, glad that you are on with us. Jimmy, I'm so glad that you missed me. Hello, Latrice and Macy from Austin. Darylyn, yes, you're in Austin. Linda, is it raining there? You cannot blame me for the rain, because I am not there. However, there was an outburst here in the DFW area today, and I didn't expect that rain. But Darylyn, this is your first time. Would y'all just love on Miss Darylyn? Tell her welcome to Grief Symposium. Darylyn Johnson is here for the first time. Let her know that we appreciate her, as well as Chester Earls. So glad that you have joined us. Thank you so much. Delonda, thank you. Appreciating Barry and Marie for this service. Hello, Miss Catherine. Miss Cat, how are you? You yet holding on, woman of God? Linda, you should be encouraging. She said it's not raining yet. Hello, hello. All right. So we are going to go ahead and move forward. We appreciate all of you for taking time out of your busy schedules on this Sunday afternoon to join us live. And we also appreciate those who will actually go back and watch the replay. We appreciate you. The handout, today's handout, is actually available on the page, life celebration page. So if you didn't get a chance, I put a note out there just a few moments ago. If you did not get a chance to download it, that's okay. You can just listen as I share today from the handout, and you can go back when it's over, and then you can download it and have it for yourself. Okay. Hello, Miss Ella Jones. Let the people know where you logging in from. I know she's from my area. That's my friend. Hello, Miss Latrice. Thank you so much, so much. So we are talking today. We're just going to jump right in. But before we do that, I want to ask the question, how are you guys doing at this phase of dealing with Corona? How are you doing, especially here in Texas? You know, we started opening up the state of Texas, and it just kind of, we had to step back a little bit this week. So we're having to continually adjust and deal with some new things, and it's really appropriate. That's right. Miss Ella is from Dallas, Texas, logging in. It's really appropriate for today's topic, talking about our new normal, And if you guys got a chance to see the graphic flyer that we had to announce today's session, I had on my designer mask. Did y'all see me? What? I'm not gonna put it on. I don't want to get lipstick on it. That's vain, ain't it? That's just flesh. But listen, if I must wear a mask, I might as well be cute in it. What? Right. Come on. So our new normal, talking about, who was that Shakespeare who said to be or not to be? That is the question. That's what I pose today to us as it relates to dealing with grief and this new normal that we are striving to adjust to put on a mask or not to put on a mask. Because at this particular point in the state of Texas, it has not become a governmental mandate as of yet. However, I anticipate that it probably will become a mandate a little bit later on. But as for right now, people have a choice as to whether they want to wear the mask or they don't want to wear the mask. And I've heard many people say many things, about why they don't want to wear the mask. They don't want to feel confined. They want to exercise their amendment. Amendment number 1, freedom to say what they want to say, do what they want to do. So I've heard just a gamut of responses as to why you don't want to wear the mask. But people are asking, what's happening? What's happening in our world? And those of us who are going through grief, guess what? That's the same question we're asking. What is happening to my life? And my answer to each of you is your life has changed. Your life has changed. You must find a new normal. So at the top of the handout on the second page, it says life after loss is the new normal. That is the new normal, as uncomfortable as it is. Now, we always want to remind you again what grief is. For those of you, especially you're joining for the first time, those who have been on before, they've heard me say what grief is. It's a natural response to any kind of loss. It doesn't matter who we are. Grief is an emotional response. Everybody grieves, whether they know it or not, whether they acknowledge it or not. Everybody grieves. But mourning is actually different. What is mourning? It is that external expression of what's on the inside. And the reality is everybody does not allow themselves to mourn. So if you are going to move forward in a healthy lifestyle after you go through grief of losing someone or something, you must allow yourselves to mourn. That is healthy, okay? So grief is something that all of us experience. It's when we have a significant loss, whether it's death, a death loss, or a non-death loss. Okay, in the handout it talks about, it says the impact of grief on individuals, businesses, organizations. A lot of people right now are going through grief. Why? Because they've lost their job. They've lost their homes. Some people have lost their vehicles. Some people have lost their health. Those who are battling COVID-19 and dealing with all of that. Guess what? They are going through the same responses that you go through if someone dies. Okay, so grief is not about death. It's about loss. It's about what you lost and who you lost. I have been in the funeral industry since 1989, and I too was guilty, like a lot of you are, guilty of not processing and not dealing with my grief. And it really depends upon the culture that you're a part of. My culture, the Black culture, we have a tendency to do what? Spiritualize absolutely everything. Now, let me give you my disclaimer. I am a woman of faith. I do believe in God, and I know that I can't live without him. He's my everything. But what I have learned within the last 8 years is that I did not allow myself to deal with grief emotionally. Okay? Grief has to be dealt with several different ways. Physically, behaviorally, emotionally, and spiritually. Okay, so we cannot just deal with it one particular way. So because I did not deal with that 8 years ago, the thing that caused me to open my eyes was a divorce. So what a great example. Those of you who have gone through divorce or you're currently going through divorce, guess what? You are going to go through the grief process. So grief is not about death. It's about loss. And I gave you the example. I started out saying I've been in the business since 1989. Up until that point, until about 8 years ago, most people did not deal with their grief like I didn't. So it's been about 8 years. And guess what? Even within the last few months, since March, since we've been in this quarantine, since we've been dealing with Corona, people's eyes are becoming open. They're like, oh, what is this I'm feeling on the inside? It's grief. It's grief. So we have to learn how to adapt to our new normal, whether we like it or not. I sit back and I look at the news every day, once a day, because I was looking at it too often in the beginning of the quarantine, and I found myself being filled with anxiety. Yes, the grief doctor, I was filled with anxiety because none of us are exempt from grief. None of us are exempt from dealing with it. Okay. Celebrities were in quarantine, just like people who are non-celebrities. Those of us who are not celebrities, we were in quarantine and they were in quarantine. Rich people are in quarantine. Poor people are in quarantine. It doesn't matter who you are. We all have to deal with this new normal. And I sit back and I listen at them on the news and they say, I'm just ready to get outside. I'm just ready to get back to normal. But in reality, our lives are not the same. Guess what? Because we got to wear this mask. And I don't know about you, but for me, when I go outside and I go to stores, I'm just going to use funerals for an example. When I see funerals and I see funerals taking place and I see people at the funeral having to wear a mask, it just jolts me. It just does something to me. I say, oh my gosh, it is, our world is so different to where we have to wear a mask now to protect, others as it relates to this coronavirus. But that's where we are. That's where we are. Many people are ready to get back out there and not realizing that our world has changed. Same thing with grief. The same thing with grief. When you go through grief, it crosses all cultures, all socioeconomic backgrounds. Again, as I mentioned earlier, it doesn't matter who you are. And it leaves you, the griever, grappling with this concept of finding your new normal. And you have to find it. It just doesn't automatically happen for you. You must find it. All right. So it says after a significant loss, nothing is the same. It's really not. One of the biggest mistakes that people make after they go through a death loss, especially, but any kind of loss, but definitely a death loss, when someone significant to you has died, we try to go back to life like it used to be. My dear hearts, you cannot. Why? Because your life has completely changed. would you guys help us and do a favor? I forgot to mention it at the top. Would you share the broadcast? Definitely want you to comment, want you to like it, share this broadcast. Why? Because we want the message to get out there. We know that there are a lot of people out there grieving and they will need this support. So share the message so that others can actually see as well. So we know that the biggest mistake is we try to go back to life like it used to be. And when in reality, we cannot, because let me share with you, the person that you were before the death, before your loved one died, that person has drifted out to sea and unfortunately will not return. That person who you were then will not return. So it's very important that you stop expecting your old self to come back. That's one of the challenging things about grief. I hear people say, I just don't know what to feel, or I don't know how to feel. That's right, because you are totally different. You are absolutely totally different. So stop expecting things to be like it used to be. Everything has changed. Your belief system, your routines, your sleeping habits, your eating habits, your perception, and your perspective. Absolutely everything has changed. And yes, is it devastating? Oh, it is definitely heartbreaking, and especially during a pandemic. My condolences to those of you who have lost loved ones in the middle of a pandemic. My sincere condolences and heartfelt prayers are sent to you. Why? Because it's going to complicate your grief process. Because your funeral experience and how you grieve is going to be limited, because some of you will not be able to have the funerals that you normally would have, where you can have everybody there. Some of you may have to have a limited funeral where you have limited people in attendance. Okay, so that's definitely going to impact the way that you grieve. So what we have to do is to accept the reality of where we are. Where are we? We are in a life where we have to find our new normal. One of the things that I share with people is the best way to honor the memory and the life of your loved one is for you to live well. I'm going to pause right there. Give you a moment to take that in. The best way that you can bring honor to your loved one who died is for you to live well. But guess what? You cannot live well until you mourn well. You've got to mourn well. You've got to go through that painful process. You got to go through the grief on what's on the inside. And then you've got to go through the mourning process, which is to externally express that grief on the inside. That is the best way, which means you should be taking better care of yourself. The things that you've always, how about this? I know all of us have said this at one point. One day I'm going to do such and such. One day I'm going to go on the vacation. One day I'm going to write the book. One day I'm going to get the business started, but I can't right now because I'm taking care of mama. I can't right now because I'm taking care of my husband or whoever it was that died. Okay? Now is the time for you to find your new normal and to do those things. But you can't do those things until you allow yourself to mourn well. And I understand it. I understand that a lot of times our grief can be misunderstood, especially during a crisis such as coronavirus. Your grief can be misunderstood because a lot of times, truth be told, you want to be by yourself, don't you? Absolutely. You don't have the energy because grief is draining. When you have to process it, it is very, very draining, and it causes fatigue, emotional fatigue, spiritual fatigue, physical fatigue, and you just don't feel like, being bothered with a whole lot of people. That is true. It really, really is. And because of that, sometimes that can be misunderstood. So I have always encouraged people, you got to find your village of supporters. Find people who support you where you are and not where they think you should be, which means that those people who support you where you are, they will allow you to have your good days and your bad days, and they will not misunderstand your grief. All right? They won't. So finding your new normal is not like finding a new house or finding a new car. All of these things usually have happy emotions associated with it. When you are attempting to find out who you are, let's say it's your spouse, who you've been married to for 50 years, your spouse dies, and you're used to being Mrs. So-and-so. Your husband dies. Now you're no longer Mrs. So-and-so. You got to figure out who you are. So painful emotions are generally going to be associated with finding your new identity, because you would say, I like my old self. I like who I was back then. But I promise you, and I don't take and make promises lightly, but if you continue to do your grief work, you will learn to love your new self, your new identity. I'm a prime example. I think Tonya is so dope right now. Tonya, if it wasn't for grief, she wouldn't be wearing big glasses like this. She would have been too intimidated. She would have been too intimidated to wear something like this, because people would talk about me. I used to dress according to what others said. If somebody say, I don't like that shirt, do you know I would go home and change? I know, foolish. I know. I didn't know any better, but I know better now. Guess what? Why? Because grief has changed me, and I embrace that change. So guess what? It's painful, and it takes months to find your new identity, sometimes years. Now, don't get scared when I say years. I don't mean it's going to take an eternity to find your new identity, but you have to give yourself, give yourself at least 2.5 years after the death. And not really just after the death. I say 2.5 years from the moment you allow yourself to mourn. Why do I say that? Because grief and mourning do not have to happen at the same time. They don't. What is grief? Grief is on the inside. It's an emotion on the inside, but sometimes we suppress that hurt. A lot of times we suppress that pain. I know many adult people who have suppressed their hurt and pain, and they're just not dealing with it 30 years later. So I encourage you to allow yourself to grieve and mourn at the same time. But the moment that you allow yourself to mourn and to deal with the reality of the death, of the loss, put a stake in the ground, and then it'll probably be 2 years after that where you find your identity. Why do I say 2 years? Because that first year, you're kind of in shock. In reality, after the death, you are in shock normally between 6 to 9 months after. The reality really hasn't hit you. It starts settling in around month 6, and sometimes between 6th and the 9th month after the death. The reality is they are not coming back. My mom died. My baby died. My husband died. These are the things that you're saying because your mind couldn't wrap itself around it. So what we have to do is to give ourselves permission to create. Here's a word, create. You must create your new normal. And the only way you're going to create that is you got to be able to do something. You got to take some steps. Will everything that you do be what you want to do? Absolutely not. Will those things be uncomfortable? Absolutely yes. It was uncomfortable at first, before I settled into my new identity to wear these big glasses. I love them now. I don't care. Some people say, ooh, I bet you can see from here to China. I don't care. I say, yeah, but I look good, don't I? Because I finally found my identity. I finally did my grief work. I went to the cemetery with my sisters on Father's Day. We went to put flowers on our dad's grave, and it was a family out there, about 20 people. And they were sitting in lawn chairs. Looked like they had kind of like a cookout there, and they were there. And then there was a mother and a husband, or a man and a woman, and it appeared to be a mother, and they were weeping over a grave, and the mother was sitting Indian style on the grave. Well, here come me and my sisters. Our dad died in 2010. My sisters and I, this is the first time. Well, we normally don't cry because we have done our grief work. Doesn't mean that we don't love him. It doesn't mean that we miss him. But we were laughing and joking, and you know me, I have a loud laugh. I love laughter is good like medicine. You should try it sometime. I was laughing so loud, and I said, oh, I need to be quiet. Why? Because they are hurting. And then I said, wait a minute. No. Why am I dumbing down my grief process? I've done my grief work. I'm at a better place to where I can laugh and talk and share with my family about our daddy. So don't be ashamed wherever you are in your grief process. Okay? When you work through the sad parts and you get to the point to where you can be happy and jolly about it, it's okay. It is okay. All right? So you got to learn to create that new normal of the aftermath after your trauma. All right. And how do you do that? You need a guide to do that. An architect has a blueprint if they're going to build a new house. If you've ever been on a cruise, it's wonderful. We have fun and do all of that. But guess what? It's a captain somewhere, and he has a compass, a ship's compass, and he's definitely leading the pack, and he's taking us on our journey. So guess what? You need a guide, and it's called space. What is space? Right now in our world, 6 feet. Give me 6 feet. When you're in the grocery store, I went to the grocery store this morning with the senior citizens. That's when I'm going to keep going. Because they abide by the rules. Well, most of them. Except this man who went viral, who didn't want to wear a mask going into Walmart. Did y'all see that man fighting? Foolish. Just foolish. Foolish. But for the most part, senior citizens gonna follow instructions. So I got up this morning, I went to the grocery store, and they have these lanes, they say go down this way or don't enter right here. So the old people, they follow instructions. They not like these young folks, and these millennials, they gonna do what they want to do. If the arrows say don't come this way, a millennial, well, now let me not say that because y'all gonna get mad at me. But I'm just telling you what I've seen when I've been at Walmart during the noonday and the evenings versus in the morning. The senior citizens are the ones that pay attention. So it says, I need space. I need space. So guess what? When you're going through your grief journey, you need to protect your space and who comes in your space. So we have an acronym that's going to be a guide for you. What does your space stand for? Your S stands for there is a spiritual approach. Yes, it is. I don't care what faith you are part of. There is a spiritual approach to dealing with your grief. Okay, so that's what the S stands for. It says the pain of grief can cloud your perceptions of God's comfort and love, and maybe sometimes it brings about questions of your own spirituality. I know it did for me. I had lots of questions for God when my baby died. Lots of questions. I didn't understand it. Why my baby? There are people out there having kids. They don't even want kids, and you let their babies live. My baby died. I don't understand it. Questions. When my divorce came, I'm like, look, I'm doing all I can to serve you, and my marriage is going to die by the wayside. The spiritual approach, it does impact us. So what do you need to do? Plan ways to ease your soul. What is your soul? That's the seat of your emotions. All right, it's our emotions and it's our will. Okay, so you got to plan ways to ease that. What can you do to find peace in your soul? Watch the sunset. Watch the sunrise. Go to the park. Listen to nature. Gardening. That's a big one right there. Gardening is one. Everybody gonna have a pretty yard this year. Why? Because we didn't have nothing else to do. I had something to do because I was still working. As an essential worker, I work from home. And so I was still working. Thank God. I wasn't impacted by the quarantine. But those who were impacted, every time I would speak with someone, I said, what are you doing? They say, I'm outside gardening. But that's a great way to deal with your grief, service to other people, and definitely seek guidance from your spiritual advisor. Now, I ask you to be careful when you say seek guidance from your spiritual advisor. You need to know that that person understands grief holistically. Because if it's a person that encourages you to only deal with it from a spiritual standpoint, that's not going to help you. Because there is an emotional component to it. All right? So notice I did not put going to church. Oh, I laughed too loud, didn't I? That was a little bit too loud. Okay, let me calm down. It's not about going to church. How do I know that? I can prove that right now in the quarantine. The church building was shut down. So it's not about going to a particular place. It's about finding your spirituality, your soulish place to where you can connect your faith with whatever faith you're connected with. I'm a woman of faith. I'm a Christian. I connect with God. So you got to find ways to deal with your spirituality. Okay. What does the P stand for? Physical. There is a physical approach. There is a physical approach. How do you spend time with your body? Don't respond on this thing. Don't say. Don't say. That's a question. I just want you to think about it. Meaning, with your loss, your entire being may feel as though you've been traumatized. In reality, you have been traumatized. That's why you're so tired. That's why you don't feel like doing things. And what do people want to do? They want to get you to go places, right? They want to get you out of the house. They want you to take you shopping. They want you to take you here because they're attempting to make you feel better. Okay. But knowing that keeping busy, for those of you who like to keep busy, know that that is not going to necessarily help you through the process unless you still deal with your grief. So you got to deal with your physicality. Physically, your strength may and energy may have declined and leaving you to feel weak. So we do have to exercise the stress away. There is proof to that. There's scientific research as it relates to moving our bodies. And yes, I'm a person. I didn't like exercise either. For my Austin people, I'm still trying to get that exercise in. I'm not as good as Marie. Marie goes bike riding every day. I haven't gotten there yet. God is still working on me. But I'm getting some exercise in because it's crucial. You got to move that physical body, get some vitamin D, meaning get outside in the sunshine. Even though we're social distancing, you still can get outside to get some sunshine. You want to stretch your body because it's very important. You want to exercise deep breathing, because that will help calm you down and keep you healthy as well. It will definitely help you de-stress from the grief that's going on. And think about aromatherapy. Do you have a diffuser in your home, or you like candles or scentsy? Whatever it is, because what we smell definitely affects us as well. You know, kind of when we go in the restroom sometimes and it's not smelling too good, what do? It's not a good feeling. It doesn't make me feel good. But when you smell something pleasant, things such as lavender, peppermint, lemon, all of those things will cause you to de-stress and it will help you relax. Okay. So we've got to deal with the spiritual. We've got to deal with the physical. And guess what the A stands for? It's our affect or our emotional approach. Okay. So how do you spend time with your emotions? Our affect is a psychological term, and it refers to the range of our ups and our downs of every day. I know I was a person that suffered with depression for years and did not know what it was until recently, within the last few years, and just really came into greater clarity this year about depression. I always felt like it was a dark cloud hovering over my head, even with the accomplishments that I've made, even with some of the great things that I've done. I still felt depressed and I didn't know it. So once I was able to identify what that was, then I was able to fight it and combat it. So you got to be careful. Pay attention to your emotions. That's why we have a lot of suicides. It's a spiritual component dealing with suicide, but also an emotional component. Okay? So I used to be one of those people to say, it can't get that bad for me to try to take my life. Guess what? It did. It got that bad. It got that bad to where I wanted to take my life. Why? Because the emotional pain was too much. So you got to do things to nurture and honor your feelings. All right? You got to be able to do things to nurture your feelings, not your family's, not your husband's, or not anybody else's feelings. You got to be able to nurture your feelings. How do you do that? You can be around positive people. Be around positive people. A lady came to my support group several years ago, and she came one night, and she had been going to another support group for 2 years. That was her first time coming. And at the end of the group, she introduced herself. She said, "Whoa, I just got a whole lot out of this particular group." And I said, "Well, as a social worker and a bereavement coordinator and a grief counselor, I'm always looking for great resources, and I'm always wanting to refer people to other resources." And I said, "Well, what kind of group did you go to? I can use it as a resource." She said, "I went to DA." I said, DA. Okay, I've never heard of that group. What is the name of that group? She said, Depression Anonymous. Crickets, let me get some water on that. Just like Alcoholic Anonymous, it's a group out there called Depression Anonymous. I had no idea. I said, "Lady, I'm so glad that get away from that group. Everybody's depressed." She said there was not a leader. There was no facilitator. There was nobody guiding it. So everybody just got together every week, and they're depressed and sad, and nobody knew where to go. And so I said, "No, you got to be around positive people." So if your circle is not positive, you got to figure out how to be around positive people. That's why sessions such as this, even though we're not in the same room, but we're helping each other by typing information. That's positivity. Okay? So you want to recognize the healing value of tears. Why? Because tears are cleansing for us. So if you are that person to say, "I don't cry," you got to figure out why. It's something physical or emotional or spiritual going on, because tear ducts were made for water to come out. So if you are, I know many people who cannot cry because they suppressed their tears for so many years. Okay. I saw that comment over there, Marie. She said, let's get physical. All right. I'm going to move, Marie. I'm going to do better. I'm going to do better. So you allow yourself to cry, give yourself permission to cry and laugh. We kind of talk about laugh, and you can use music as a healing therapy. Music is very, very healing. It's universal. It gets to the soul. It gets to the soul, and it goes where words cannot. Have you ever seen a person who had some type of cognitive impairment? As a social worker, I see patients who have dementia, Alzheimer's. They cannot remember their name, but somebody can get on the piano and start playing Amazing Grace, and that person can sing all stanzas, all 4 stanzas. I don't even know all 4 stanzas, but they can sing it. Why? Because the music gets down in those cracks. How else can I prove to you that music is so universal and it gets to our soul? Have you listened to the songs that was played at your loved one's memorial, your loved one's funeral, or your loved one's favorite song? When you hear those songs, what happened? The tears started coming, right? Because that music was able to get to a place where words could not. So you got to take care of your emotions. You got to, and then guess what? C. So we talked about spiritual, physical, our affect for A. C stands for cognitive. You must take care of your thoughts. How do you spend time with your thoughts? Our thoughts are a very important process of the healing process, a very important part of the healing process. So if you're at home sitting thinking, I'm never going to make it out of this virus, corona, I'm going to get corona, I'm going to get it, or I'm never going to do better, I'm never going to heal since my mom died, I'm never going to have any more friends since my loved one died. Guess what? You won't. Because this is what our thoughts can either help us or hurt us. Our thoughts can either impede or support healthy living and grieving. The way that we think affects the way that we feel, and the way that we feel, it affects our behavior, and our behavior, it affects the way that we perceive the world. So it's really a domino effect, our thought lives. Have you ever done something and you didn't intend to do that? You're like, what was I thinking? Right? Because sometimes we move and we act on our thoughts, because our thought life is connected to our emotions. You see how it all works together? So we have to pay attention to each particular area. So you got to definitely take care of your thought life. What can you do? You can use positive statements, affirmations, and I added, and believe them. One of my participants, his wife died several years ago, and he told me, he said, Tonya, add and believe them. Because a lot of times we can say certain things and we can believe it to be true for other people, but not necessarily ourselves. So you got to believe that to be true, that I will make it, that I will make it through this process, that I will survive, I will heal from the grief, I will get better, I will find another job. Okay? So you got to be able to believe them and say them aloud. You can write in your journal your thoughts. Writing in your journal is so important. And it doesn't matter what it is, good thoughts, bad thoughts, whatever they are, because the key thing is to get it out of here, out of your headspace, because our head was not, our headspace was not designed to house all of that, the emotions and all of that. We got to get it out. So journaling is one way to do that. I call it mind dumping. It's one way to express your emotions and express what's going on in your soulish realm. All right. Also, if you can, refrain from doing major projects or making major decisions after your loved one's death or after you go through a loss. If you can, refrain from having to think too hard, because some of you have to, because you have to deal with the estate, right? Some of you really cannot deal with the emotion of grief, because you got to deal with the business of grief. You got to deal with the estate. You got to deal with the bank account. You got to do this and you got to do that. Okay. But if you don't have to, I encourage you to refrain from that. Why? Because you want to rest your brain. You want to rest your thought life. All right. And then E, what does E stand for? Our environment. Yes. Guess what? Your environment is impacting you. Is it clean? And when I say clean, I'm not saying to be spotless, but does it have order? Or is it cluttered? because clutter will bring about confusion emotionally. People don't even recognize the impact that clutter has on our lives. So how you spend time in your environment, think about it. Do you have pets? Do you have plants? What's the lighting like? Is it dark in there? Do you have live plants or plastic plants? What's the furniture like? You know, how is it arranged? Is everything dark? Think about your environment, and you want to take time to create that environment and make it your environment. It's got to feed you. You should feel good when you walk in a room. It impacts us. It really does. The painting on the wall, if you notice the blue paint on the wall, when we were married, we added this on and the walls were white. And I would come in here to try to do some work, and I was just unproductive. I couldn't. And my husband at that time, he said, how about we add an accent wall? I say, sure. So we painted 2 walls blue, that sky blue that you see behind me. And the moment I came back into the office after that, you're talking about productivity, because it calms me. It calms me. So the color of the paint on the wall, a lot of businesses are their design is strategic, depending upon what kind of business they have. Okay? So colors and prints and patterns. What does your environment look like? Do you have pictures of your loved one? Or do you not? Some people don't like it. Some people don't like pictures of their loved ones up. I have pictures up. I love pictures. As you can see, I have a picture of myself. Don't judge me. It's just me in this house. I can put pictures of me and my dog, me and Mister. It's all over this house. All right? And my family. I got my sisters. But you got to do things to take care of your environment. And if it's cluttered, clean it out. Okay, so what do you want to do? Create your environment to work for you in the healing process, which means you can rearrange some furniture, adjust some furniture. I'll never forget one lady whose young 23-year-old daughter died, and the daughter was pregnant. Excuse me. So this lady lost not only her daughter, but her granddaughter. And she emailed me one morning. I happened to be up. You can tell it's a long time ago because it was 2 o'clock in the morning. Marie, don't you say anything on here. It was 2 o'clock in the morning. And people who know me now know that I'm asleep. But I used to be a night owl. I used to be able to burn that candle on both ends. I can't now because I'm AARP. That's all right, though. I'm going to do the best I can with what I got. But she emailed me one morning. She said, I want to change my comforter. Is that all right? What do you think about that? I said, well, absolutely, it's all right. Not only did her daughter die, her grandbaby died, but she was also going through a divorce. So she said, I want to get a new comforter. The urge just came over me. I said, absolutely, get a new comforter. She changed the decorations in her bedroom, and it made her feel better. Okay, so what else can you do? You can use resources and relationships to help you bring order. If you cannot bring your life into order, you can hire somebody or get somebody you know to help you bring it to order. Okay, I had one lady who was shopping. She was a shopaholic. Her parents, she was, her mom died, and then her dad died first, and her mom died maybe a year or 2 afterwards. And her house was cluttered. It was so cluttered that she couldn't do it herself. So I say, how about hiring somebody? So she hired somebody. So you can do that. You can do that. So you got to take care of your space. If you're going to find your new normal, you got to be able to take care of your space. What is your space? That's take care of your spiritual approach, your physical approach. You got to deal with your affect, okay? Your emotional approach, then your cognitive. That's C. And then lastly, dealing with your environmental approach. All right? So got to take care of your space if you're going to find your new normal. And I want you to know, guess what? That you are resilient. I know that you may not feel like it. I know that grief is really, really tough. It's really painful. But guess what? You are resilient. And you have the capacity to recover from this grief, this hurt, and this pain. I know it is very painful. I know that you think your life is over. Guess what? It is not. It is not. There is life after loss. It's just a different one. That's a phrase that I coined and I learned in my own process because I was trying to be, my ex-husband was a pastor. He still is a pastor, I heard. But when we were together, he was also my pastor. And so I was the first lady. So when we divorced, guess what? I was no longer the first lady. I didn't have a reserved seat no more. I didn't have a reserved parking space. I had to get in where I fit in. But guess what? I'm so okay with it. Woo! I'm so okay with it now. I want to get up and run, but I can't because I'm talking to you live now. But what am I saying? You will recover. Marie, I see your statement saying I'll be asleep at 4:30. Once I get off with you guys. Listen, I got to get my rest. My whole point is the picture on the handout when you download it, you see that? It's dirt, it's cracked, it's in Texas, we see that all the time, right? Our yards are cracked up and it's dirt and it's dry. And right in the middle of that, you see that? It's a yellow flower. Right in the middle, that yellow flower is blooming in that dry place. Oh, that's a good word to me. New life will come through the cracks. Yes, you have been cracked. Yes, you are hurting because your loved one died. But if you, and I always say if you do your grief work, you will bounce back. You will bounce back a new person. Okay, so you're already resilient. How do I know you're resilient? Because you're on this live right now. If you didn't care about doing your grief process, if you didn't care about your emotionality, if you didn't care about how you felt spiritually or physically, you wouldn't even be on this live. So that's how I know you're resilient. You are, you just need somebody to tell you and remind you of that. So what are some signs of resilience? The capacity to ask for help. I know I used to be that private and prideful person. I would not ask for help. I would be over here starving. Know I needed food. Wouldn't ask people for food. Now, honey, I don't mind asking. Do you have such and such and such? Do you have such and such? Can I have this? All they can do is tell me no. Okay, so ask for help. All of us need it. Beware of the person who's not accountable to anybody else. Oh, that was good. Beware of the person who is not accountable. I'm accountable to other people. I have a coach. I have a mentor. I have my pastor. I have spiritual leaders. I have business leaders. I have my own counselor. I have my own spiritual healing leader. I have people I answer to because I don't know it all. None of us do. So I ask for help now. So ask for help if you need to process through this grief process. Okay? You don't know what to do because you've never done it before. Ask for help. Reach out for counseling. Reach out. Talk to somebody, okay? And then the second thing is the strength and the courage to move forward with your grief. Many people say when I'm moving forward, like you're leaving the memory of your loved one behind. Absolutely not. You take them with you. Remember, I said the best way to honor your loved one is to live well. You should be doing so many things different because they died. Why? Because you are taking steps to do something new. Okay, so you bring them along with you. My father, I am a daddy's girl. Love mama, love her, but daddy was it. Daddy was it, and he would follow me around during my adult years, just before he died during my adult years, and when I would go speak, and he was my number one cheerleader. Even when I was a kid, he was my number one cheerleader. It didn't matter if I flopped. If I went to Flunkersville, daddy would say, baby, you sure did good. Baby, I missed. Now, mama, on the other hand, she said, you didn't do good at all. She was rough on the self-esteem. Oh, that lady was rough on the self-esteem. But my daddy. So now, me talking to you now, honey, I can feel his presence. Yes, because he's like the wind beneath my wings. And every time I speak and every time I share on grief, share a piece of my passion about grief and helping others to get through their grief, I know it's making my daddy proud. So I'm taking my grief with me. Grief never ends. Grief never ends. It softens. Okay, so what is grief? It's the love that you feel. They died, but your love for them did not die. Your love. So that's what you feel. So here it is. You know, daddy died in 2010. Here it is. I have my days. All right. So know that you're moving forward, but you're moving forward with your grief. All right. And then another sign of resilience is the willingness to share your feelings with other people. You are the expert. When you go through the grief process, yes, I've been to school and I continue to take continuing education, but guess what? It's not until you go through that thing. For the first time, it was about 3 years ago, I don't know why I never asked people when I would do a grief support group. I never asked, do you have any questions of me as it relates to personally? And I did. I asked about 2 years ago, and one lady said, have you had any deaths? I said, that's a good question. Who wants a grief counselor who's never had any deaths? What? That just don't add up. You don't have a clue of what I'm feeling, and I don't want just a grief counselor who's not had any deaths. But if you've had them, have you processed them? That's another thing. That's another thing you want to know. Have you dealt with them? Okay, so you got to be willing to share as you guys heal. Share your process, because some people will never go to a counselor. Some people will never go to a therapist. They'll never go to a support group, but they'll listen to you and your story. They'll listen to you and how you heal. They watching you. They watching you go get grief support. They're watching you say that I'm going on a live. I'm going to watch the grief symposium by Life Celebration by Franklin. They're watching how you respond. Okay. So share your story with people, because your story will help other people heal. So as we come to a close, finding or creating your new normal, it doesn't just happen. Remember, it doesn't just happen. I didn't get this cute. It didn't just happen. I had to find this girl. I had to find Tonya. She was in there all along. But it took hurt and pain and trauma to bring her out. Okay? I had to find her. I had to find her. So as difficult as it may be, embrace where you are. Embrace where you are. Embrace your grief journey. Yes, it's painful and it hurts, but I promise you, there is life. You will laugh again. You will love again. Some of you will get married again if it's a spouse that died, and if you get married, ask them, do we have a brother, uncle, or something? I'm looking. No, I'm going to be found, right? That's the Bible say what? He who finds a wife. So let me just work on me being a wife. How about that? I bet y'all say this lady's crazy. But you got to embrace that you're under reconstruction. You really are. And we know what reconstruction is. It's like you're going through demolition, when they take that big cement ball and it knocks down buildings, things like that. That's what happened to you. So you're building this new life as a, guess what, widow. I know. Widower, a single person. You're building this, as a parent whose child who's died, and as a sibling who died. You're building. I'll never forget the first time I had to fill out an application, and they ask you your marital status, right? That's on there all the time. I never paid any attention because I was married, right? But the first time I had to fill out an application after the divorce, I got mad. I'm like, why do you need to know my marital status? See, I hadn't processed my grief. I was still in the angry stage. I hadn't processed it. But now I shamelessly and I proudly circle, I'm divorced, because I've embraced that, and I'm healing even at another level. I'm still healing, but I'm better with that. I embrace my identity. All of you are at what we call ground zero. Ground zero. We know what that is, right? New York. Any of you been to New York? Type on the screen if you've been to New York. And if you've been, have you been to ground zero? Have you been there where the Twin Towers were? Have you been there where the Twin Towers were? If you have not been to New York, that's your homework. When we are open up to fly, you can start planning it now. Plan a trip to New York and plan to go to see the Twin Towers. Why do I want you to go there? It's because it's a beautiful place. A place that reminds us of so much pain. So many people died right there, right? And they could have easily, the officials, the leaders of New York could have easily built 2 more buildings to attempt to put replicas. Jimmy Brown, you agree? Yes. Sherry, you've been there. They could have easily put 2 more buildings to try to give a replica of what was there. But even if they put 2 more buildings there, it still would not have been the same as the original. What am I telling you is that it's 2 huge holes that are now waterfalls. And it's so serene and just so peaceful there. And at nighttime it lights up and it's a waterfall, and they have all of the names of the people who died. They have all of their names etched in there. in the waterfall, and a white flower is placed in their name, in their slot on their birthday. Isn't that a wonderful way to remember them? So somebody has a list of all of those people. That's right, the Twin Towers. Somebody has a list of all of those thousands of people who died and their birthday. And when their birthday comes around, they put a white rose in there to honor, like, yes, we remember you on your birthday. What am I telling you? The life that you build and the identity that you create and your new normal that you create, it is going to be absolutely beautiful. It is. I know you can't imagine it now. That's okay. Don't even try to. Just look through my eyes. I'm seeing for you, because and I always say, if you do your grief work, you will live again a wonderful life. It's just a different life. Okay? So you are at ground zero. So I see a lot of you all have been to ground zero, so they can attest to what I'm saying. That place is absolutely beautiful now. It's a place that was a place of tragedy, but they built something new. They found their new normal. They didn't put two buildings there. They didn't try to go back to life like usual, like it used to be, but they built something new and something beautiful. So that's what I encourage you to do. That's what we encourage you to do at a Life Celebration by Franklin. We want you to live your best life and create something new. Create something new. So at the end, the last page, those of you who are used to our grief symposium, when we are face to face, we usually have a journaling period where we ask people to journal their thoughts about what we said today. So after you get off of this live, I want you to think about it. I want you to sit and do a self-assessment. This is a perfect time to do it. We are at the end of June. We're at the end of June and we're halfway through the year. I know we didn't think 2020. Let me just speak for me. 2020, this is not how I planned it to go. This is not what I had on my list of goals. And I'm like, Lord, this is what but if I tell you, I'm loving it in spite of, because I'm changing. I've learned to adjust to change, and I'm learning to work with my new normal. And 2020 is still a good year. Even though you may have had a loved one to die, even though you may have gone through something, may have lost something, a job, it's still a good year, but you've got to participate in making it a good year. So I want you, we got 6 more months. We got 6 more months to make this thing happen in 2020 for you to create your new normal. Okay, so we still got time. I want you to sit down, journal, think about where you are, your new normal. Are you trying to go back to life like it used to be when your loved one was here? Before you lost the job, before whatever it is that you lost? Are you still trying to live and be that person? If you are, now is the time to change. Now is the time to change. You got to find your new normal. And I promise you, you will love it. You will love it because it's different. It's different. It's not the same. It wasn't designed to be the same, but it's different. All right. So we hope that this has been helpful to you all. If anybody have a couple of minutes, anybody have a question? You got a question, and would you make a comment? Would you thank Barry and Marie for providing this service to us today? We thank them for sponsoring this particular session. So thank them for me. And also, if you have a question, I'll look. If not, I will answer it after the broadcast, because sometimes Facebook doesn't allow the comments to be live. So I'll definitely respond to you afterwards. But again, we appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule on your Sunday afternoon to be with us. Remember, you got to find your new normal. And if you need resources, if you need assistance, you can inbox us, let us know, and we can definitely connect you, because now we're still in a place, even though we're in still in the pandemic, some of us are not quarantined, depending upon where we live. You can still find some resources. There are virtual resources all over the place, All right. So, okay, then no questions. I see people thanking Marie and Barry. Yes, we thank you. So I am going to log off. And if you have a question, you can still post it and I will look at it momentarily. All right. We want you guys to be blessed. Have the best next 30 days. And we'll let you know because we're being cautious. I'm so glad that he's being led as far as being cautious. So we won't go back until we feel it's safe. And until we get back face to face, we'll see you back here same time every fourth Sunday here on a life celebration page. Tell somebody, share it with somebody, because guess what? A lot of people are going through grief and they don't even realize it. So we want to be able to help them so that they can process through and be the healthiest person that they can be. All right. Blessings to each of you. Until next time. Bye now.